Hey fiends, so this was totally not the video that I had planned to do next. I had all these plans of doing all these elaborate, exciting things, and instead things got in the way. So if you've been if you're friends with me on Facebook, or if I've actually bothered to put anything on Instagram, I can't remember, you may have noticed that I haven't been wearing a lot of makeup lately. This week is the first week I've been able to wear makeup again because I had to go and have eye surgery, so that was a thing. Apologies if there's a lot of background noise. I do have the windows open because it's quite warm. It's also like they're trying to tone down lockdown, so there's a lot more people about, there's a lot more cars about, and there might be the occasional noise, so I apologise for that. So yeah, I had to go and get eye surgery. So I thought I would talk a little bit about that because there doesn't seem to be a huge amount, when I was looking, of people's experiences with the procedure that I have just had, which I'll get into in a bit. Plus I thought it might be interesting, given we are still in lockdown and I was very much in lockdown when the surgery happened, so I thought it might be helpful or reassuring to sort of share experiences of being in a hospital during the epidemic for something not epidemic related, and also because I couldn't find a lot for what happened to my eye in the way that it happened to me. So I should explain what happened. I was getting some weirdness with my eyes. I mean, I have weirdness with my eyes anyway. Shush. I have a neurological condition called visual snow, which basically means I've got TV static across my whole field of vision all the time. Sometimes it gets worse, sometimes it's less noticeable, but it's always there. But I was getting some things that I didn't normally get. I had a blind spot, like, up there. So, like, if my finger was, like, there and I was looking straight ahead, I wouldn't have been able to see it. And this had been creeping up on me over the course of, like, a week or so. I noticed it. I was also getting some other symptoms. I was getting some headaches and a pulsing in my ear. So I thought maybe there was something putting pressure on my brain. So I phoned up the doctors. I went into the doctors, which already surreal because the doctors is completely dead, because this was like, what, third week of lockdown or something when I went. I probably shouldn't say dead, empty would be a more appropriate term. And they did lots, some basic tests to make sure I hadn't had a stroke. Thankfully I had not had a stroke. So then I thought, well, blind spot, that's weird, I will phone the opticians. My usual opticians, because of lockdown, wasn't open, so I phoned up Specsavers because I saw online that they were doing emergency appointments. So I phoned them up, finally get through. I spoke to a girl who was working from home as their receptionist, and I explained what I was seeing. I said I've got this blind spot, and that sometimes it looked like a blind spot and sometimes it looked more like a migraine aura. It was almost like, like the frosted wibbly glass that they put on, like, the windows of bathrooms. It looked a bit like that. And she was saying, oh, it sounds like a migraine to me, but we'll forward you on to the optician. I then had a phone call back from the optician herself, and she was also about to sort of say, nah, it's probably nothing, until I said it's always in the same place and it never moves, at which point she's like, okay, come in. So I came in, on the bus with my mask on, and it was absolutely peeing down with rain. And I went in there and they had a quick look at the back of my eye, and she said immediately, okay, you have a retinal detachment. So they then forwarded me on to the hospital. So I got back on the bus, and again, we're in the middle of an epidemic. I really didn't want to be on the bus, so I was like hand gel everywhere, every 5 seconds, just hand gel everywhere there. Get into hospital, and that is already kind of surreal because the eye hospital bit wing of my local hospital, that's sort of the far end if you're going on the bus. So I had to go past the COVID like isolation pod, which was kind of creepy, and like the instant you get into hospital, everybody working in the hospital is wearing some form of mask, obviously. I'll get into more of that later. So I get there and they've got this whole like extra triage system to stop too many people going in to the wards themselves. So get to the door, speak to the, well, not really the door, there's like the entrance to that wing. So inside the hospital, and there's like, they set up some tables and some barriers, and there was a girl, I say girl, she's older than me, a nurse there, sort of letting people in once they've been checked in. But apparently you were supposed to, or at least the optician was supposed to phone in to say I was coming, which they didn't do. So I then had to stand out there, phone the eye hospital and say, hello, my eye is falling apart, can I come in? But I got through to the wrong person, and then there was this whole kerfuffle. Finally get into the eye hospital bit, and they dilated my eyes, they did some, you know, basic opticians, like really the thing on the wall thing, and took some pictures of the back of my eyes and whatever, and then they said, yep, you got retinal detachment. This had been going on apparently for at least a month, so it was very, very slowly detaching. Basically, what happens is, sometimes if you had some sort of trauma, which I haven't had, for me it was just because I'm slightly short-sighted, and the shape of your eye, when you're short-sighted, sometimes the goo, the vitreous humour, which is a great phrase, starts pulling back, and the retina sort of starts to peel away. And because mine was there, your eye is actually sort of flipped, so it was down here, and that was slowly, very, very slowly peeling back. But because it was happening so slowly, they didn't need to operate on it straight away. Initially, they thought they might be able to laser it, but once they had a look at it, it had just gone beyond the point that they could laser it. I say laser, it's freezing actually, it's cryotherapy. They did that with the other eye, because the other eye wasn't detached, but it was kind of cool. You could see on the picture of the back of my eye where it was starting to pull away, and it was like this latticey thing. So they did that when I went in for the surgery. Normally they would either, you know, laser it, cryo it, or try and operate while you're conscious, and I was sort of, there was a part of me that really wanted to do that, and there was a part of me that was like, what if I freak out and get queasy? Throwing up in the middle of an operation, probably not ideal. But in the end they sort of took that choice away from me, because the tear itself, well, the detachment was in such an awkward place, and I quote, they needed to play with the muscles, which but yeah, so they had a look, they said all of that and booked me in, and then I went in the next day and they had another look at it, and they dilated my eyes again, and that time the consultant had a proper look at the back of my eye. So I'm lying back in this dark room with my eyes dilated, and I'm having to look like down there and keep my eye open, and then they're holding my eye open, and they've got like almost like one of those jeweller's magnifying glasses over my eye, and then a stick holding it open like this. So I'm glad they didn't try and do that while I was conscious. And then they finally booked me in for the Monday. This was the Friday when I saw the consultant. And so, yeah, they decided they needed to put me under, which I have to say I was a little bit nervous about, because I've only been operated on once before, and that was a time. That was a few years ago. I had this massive horrible abscess in my leg, and it was a very, very dark time in my life anyway, and because I was on so many meds and whatever, and I had to stay in overnight, they didn't give me any of my bipolar meds, and I went very, very wrong. I might talk about that in another video. It's not really relevant in this one. This is already getting rambly, but if you're interested in the worst time of my life, leave me a comment. So yeah, I was a little bit wary, but they told me it was day surgery, so I wouldn't need to stay in overnight, and I'd be able to take all of my pills as normal. So I was like, okay, sure, do it. So I was allowed to eat at sort of 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock in the morning, and have a drink and take all of my pills, and then my mum came up to drive me into the hospital, and they did all the usual stuff. They did all the tests and whatever, which is always a nightmare, because like getting blood out of me is like getting blood out of a stone. My veins just go nope. So trying to get a cannula in me is always a bit of a nightmare. But they actually managed to do it in one stab, which is quite impressive. And then they put me under, and I woke up feeling like I'd been punched in the face. And basically what they've done, and this is going to sound mad, so apologies, and it might be a little bit gross. They basically put an elastic band around my eye. There's like a silicone band, so if that is my eyeball, and if that is my pupil, there's a band going like this all the way around, and the idea is that that will squidge all of the vitreous humour back into place, and somehow, by the sounds of what I was looking up, they're not really sure how this works or why, but all of the slightly old, slightly rubbish humour will just sort of drain out, and new stuff will come in. Don't know why. So I came out with an eye patch sellotaped to my head, and feeling like I've been punched in the face, and with an elastic band around my eye. So I'm now like the world's most rubbish cyborg, held together with an elastic band. So yeah, so that was my surgery. It's very odd. So that was about 3 and a bit weeks ago. I am thankfully recovering. I have lots of eye drops that I have to put in my eye. This is one of them. I have to put these in 4 times a day, and then I've got another one that has to live in the fridge for some reason. That one also has to go in my eye 4 times a day. To begin with, it was very swollen and very leaky and very, very gross, and it is a very surreal thing to have blood in your tears. It's a lot less swollen now, and I'm now allowed to wear makeup again, which is great. Although I did have to buy all new makeup, all new, face creams and whatever, and thoroughly wash all of my brushes. So I don't know how well you can see it, but it is still a bit red. If I take these off and lift that up, you can probably see there's a lot of redness up there. To begin with, that was so swollen, it was sort of protruding out over the iris, which felt horrible. It just constantly felt like there was something in my eye, and that was quite uncomfortable, and I couldn't really see at all out of it. Now it's just very blurry. There's actually not a huge difference between, like, with or without glasses if I look through it, but I can see a lot better. For the first week or so I was basically going around like this, so I had no depth perception, which thankfully wasn't too much of a hassle, because I don't need to leave the house that much. And but when I decided I was going to do some sewing, that was interesting, because it's really, really hard to thread a needle when you have no depth perception. I was sitting there for hours like an idiot, but overall it's not been too bad. Like, it's gross, and it was sort of uncomfortable, but it wasn't that painful. Like, I only had to take ibuprofen for it, so it wasn't that painful. And most of the time I was taking the ibuprofen more for the headaches that were being caused by like having to rely on one eye and to try and reduce the swelling. So that's fun. But in terms of looking after it, I mean, I've spoken about the eye drops already. I also have this thing. This is my eye patch, which I have to which I have to tape onto my face like that when I go to sleep or when I shower. And I have also been wearing it when I go to supermarket or do things like that, just to stop me from hitting myself in the face, basically. And even then I am constantly trying to stick my finger under anything, just like clean at it, which I shouldn't be doing, but when you're half asleep and it feels like there's something in your eye, it's just if I need to clean it, I have to boil water and then let the water cool so it's sterile, and then clean it like that. And that's a bit of a pest, although now it's alright enough that I can use makeup remover and things as usual. But yeah, in terms of the recovery, like, it's taken a bit longer than I thought it might do. I don't know why I thought it would be quicker than this. I didn't really realise quite how swollen and bloodshot and horrible it would be. I mean, like, you probably can't see that well, which is probably a good thing on the camera, but and I don't really have any pictures of when it was really swollen and gross, but it was, ugh. It looked like all of the white was kind of blistery. It was really odd, because when your eyeball swells, there's nowhere for it to really go. It's not like skin, it just sort of keeps, ugh. And yeah, I constantly felt like there was something in my eye, and it was my own swollen eyeball, which is horrifying. I still can't open it as much as the other one, so like if I try and widen my eyes, it doesn't fully go up. So when I had my checkup beginning of last week, and they were taking photos of the back of my eye, the guy had to hold my eye like this so I could keep it open fully, which was slightly embarrassing, but there we go. So yeah, that is my gross eyeball story. I just wanted to talk a little bit more about what the detachment actually looked like and felt like, because all of the things I could find online were about it happening quite quickly. It seems like in most cases, you know, it's suddenly like flashing lights and then like a curtain going across your vision. What I was getting was very, very slow. So it started off as, like, I first noticed it as just a little round thing, and then slowly it got a bit bigger, so it was sort of that shape. But yeah, it just looked like a blind spot. And then sometimes, some days, especially when it was really bright, if I was standing outside, like, it looked more like a, like I said, like a migraine aura, or like wibbly glass. And I, because, you know, what I was seeing didn't sound like any of the descriptions of retinal detachment that I saw online, I assumed that it wasn't that. So yeah, if you ever see something like that and it's not moving, get that checked out, because you can go blind. Like, if the detachment had gotten a little bit further in, there is a chance that I could have completely lost my vision in that eye, which is terrifying. Even now there is a chance that I will still have a bit of a blind spot there, just because it was detached for so long. Like, all of the, like, there might be a bit of a shadow, there might be a full-on blind spot. At the moment I can't quite see or open the eye enough to tell, but I don't know, yeah, that's not helping any. But yeah, it's been a weird few weeks, so that's why I'm doing this video instead of anything more elaborate and exciting, because all of the exciting things I wanted to do involved putting on a lot of makeup, and I couldn't do that for a while. Plus I couldn't see, which doesn't help. It's kind of difficult to edit videos. I mean, it's bad enough trying to read and write. I've been trying to play video games and it's just shocking. I'm trying to read things on the screen, I can't read them properly. So yeah, if you do start getting weird blind spots, please go to the opticians. Yeah, don't go blind. And the last thing I want to talk about is the experience of being in hospital during the epidemic, because it was weird. Like I say, they were doing lots of extra triage stuff, and like extra people weren't allowed to go into the ward. It wasn't as though you could, you know, like normal when you can just walk in and talk to the person at reception. You know, they wanted to fully book you in. My eyes watering now. Right. Before you could go in, and when my mum drove me to and from the hospital, she wasn't actually allowed to come into the ward with me. She had to sit and wait in the car or in an outside waiting area for ages, which I felt a bit bad for, but at least she got to pick up my prescription for me. Yeah, so one, there's all these extra levels of triage and stopping people coming into the wards. Two, everybody has masks on. Even the admin girls, and I keep calling people girls, that's probably really condescending, I'm sorry, that's just a slip of the tongue. Like, they had different levels of PPE for different like levels of contact, I suppose. So the people on admin, they just had the cloth surgical masks, and then that they had sort of barriers stopping you getting too close to the desks and things. And then when it came to sort of nurses and things that were dealing with people closer, they had more, I can't remember what they're called, but the more sturdy ones with the little valves and things. And then when it came up to sort of consultants and things, they had full-on respirators. And at a couple of points, the consultant who was sort of dealing with me was struggling, because it's really hard to talk through those things. It's bad enough just with a cloth mask. So she kept taking it off, or scooting back to the back of the room, taking it off, and then sort of not yelling, but, you know, talking a bit louder, just because that was easier. It was quite funny actually. There were a few times when I was sitting in the waiting area, and even the waiting areas, like, they've either spaced out all of the chairs so that they're sort of, yeah, this far apart, or taped over so that, like, if you have a chair where there's like 3 seats joined, they've taped over 2 of the seats. Because everyone had these masks on, the nurses would come out and call someone's name, but you know, it was, they'd be a bit muffled, so some of them would come out and say, "Oh, Mr. Farmer," and then 3 elderly men would stand up and start shouting, "Is that me?" Because they couldn't hear what was being called, which is sort of mildly funny. It was for me, at least, a boring waiting area. So yeah, obviously a lot more, you know, enforced washing of hands and hand sanitizer use. Everyone's wearing these masks, and sort of the consultants and the anaesthetists, and the people who give you anaesthetic, those people. I don't know why I can't say that today. They had like full-on respirators with the plastic coverings over the top, and, you know, bit Darth Vader, and they all kept sort of trying to over-explain, like, oh, because of the epidemic. It's like, I know, but I guess, you know, some people were freaking out a bit about it, and I guess that would be slightly more intimidating if you're having Darth Vader putting you under. But yeah, because I've heard a lot of sort of horror stories of you know, the other wards, you know, the non-COVID related stuff, particularly under with the NHS, and they are still doing, you know, essential operations and things. Routine stuff is being sort of less frequent, like, so I'm having fewer checkups than I would normally do, but I have a phone number for the eye hospital if anything goes wrong, if I start, you know, my vision starts getting worse or anything like that where it could be infected. I have a fast track way of getting that sorted, and because it's healing normally, they don't actually need to see me for as many checkups as they normally do. So yeah, don't worry, if you have a problem that is not COVID, you will still be treated by the NHS. They were really very good. I've got to say, you know, fantastic. Shout out to the JR hospital. So yeah, that is the story of me and my swollen elastic band eyeball. Hopefully the next video will be something slightly more interesting than me rambling about my own many health issues. Yeah, if you're interested in any of the eyeball stuff, or the mental health stuff, or the sad saga of the abscess thing that happened a few years ago, let me know in the comments. And yeah, I don't really have anything else to say, I don't think. So I will see you in whatever the next video is. Bye bye. Hello again, fiends. So obviously this is a little bit later on, because it wouldn't be one of my videos if I didn't forget to edit a previous bit for several weeks and then decide to do an update, because that's just what I do. So it is now 7 and a bit weeks since surgery, and I thought I might as well update on, turn this whole thing into like a recovery journal of some description, I don't know. So yeah, it's been 7 weeks since surgery. The eye is still very, very slowly getting better. Still a bit blurry, and it's still a bit red. If I, hang on, let's move you forward a bit. So I'm not sure how well this is focusing, but if you look at my eyeball, it is still a little red. We'll see what that looks like when I come to editing this. Well, I will partially see when I come to editing this. So I've had my 6-week checkup, which ends up being 7 weeks after surgery, just because of rearrangements, I suppose. And the eye is healing normally, so the redness and the blurriness is normal. I didn't know that, so that was freaking me out a little bit, but apparently it does take a while for that to go away. I'm still not wearing my contact lenses on a regular basis. I did wear them once for stay-at-home night clubbing this month. That was a couple of weeks ago, and it did irritate my eye a little bit, so I'm not gonna push that. And I'm still not allowed to use my old makeup. I am allowed to exercise again, so that's nice. Because having gone from actually starting to get fit for a change to doing nothing, I feel like a big jellyfish of blubber and goo. So that's a thing. In terms of like what I'm doing to look after it now, I am still wearing the eye patch when I sleep. I've stopped wearing it in the shower just because I wasn't able to wash my face and it was driving me mad. I just have to be very, very careful not to get anything in my eye. So when I do dumb things like dye my hair, I have to be really careful to sort of be like that the whole time so it doesn't get in my eyeballs. I'm not taking the medicated eye drops anymore. I have some non-medicated ones that I got from Superdrug, which I'm using occasionally, mainly just to clean out the eye, especially if I've been wearing makeup. Me wearing makeup, who would have thunk it? So yeah, recovery is slower than I thought it might be. Like a lot of the literature that I was looking at was sort of saying, oh, you know, 6 weeks-ish for healing. That is apparently a bit of a lie. Like it's 6 weeks of being super careful with it, and then a few weeks of, well, however long, I don't even know, of being still not 100%. So I don't know whether I will, I mean, I guess I have to wait and see what happens to the swelling, because I don't know whether I'll need new lenses for my glasses or new, you know, a new prescription. I probably won't, but I don't know. So in the meantime, I am trying to slowly get back to normal. For the first few weeks, as I probably said in the previous bit of the video, but I don't remember, so if I did, I'll cut that out. For the first few weeks, I couldn't see very well at all. I was literally like this. I couldn't read very well. I couldn't write. I couldn't video edit. And that has continued to be a bit of a nuisance. I can see a lot better than I could. And it is very nice to be able to open my eye properly. A little blurry, like I have to be a bit squintier when I'm reading things, especially if it's like white on black, or if it's in like a thin font or something. So if you're watching this and you're one of the people that I've met in the last few weeks on a Zoom call, hello. I'm sorry I'm not overly active in the chats on Zoom calls, but I can't see them that well. And I can't type as fast as I normally can. So like I'm not quite as chatty as I would like to be. Like I'm finding things like Discord and YouTube a lot easier because they have night modes. If Zoom has a night mode, I haven't managed to find it because I'm basically acting like the world's worst boomer. I can't see, so I'm just sort of guessing where things might be. And the thing that's really driving me up the wall is if I need to adjust the settings on a game on the Xbox, or say read a bit of text, I have to get up, walk over and right in front of the TV rather than sitting where I normally do, which is here, which is about, I don't know, 8 feet away from the Xbox. So that's really annoying. And yeah, as I say, I can't write very much. I'm still only allowed to use brand new makeup, as in stuff that I bought since surgery, so I'm still kind of limited as to what I can do makeup wise, which means that the videos that I had been planning that would involve more effort and a lot more makeup I can't do yet. Or rather, I probably could, but I don't want to risk it, you know. So those will come eventually. I might do some more like vloggy things in the meantime, like I've been meaning to do like some get to know me and story time things for years, because it's me and it takes me forever to do anything. Yeah, so I've just been spending a lot of time basically doing the things I normally do, but not as well. So I'm knitting, but not as successfully. I'm trying to sew, but it takes me ages to thread a needle. I'm trying to read stuff, but I'm like this. And it's all very annoying. For the first few weeks, I basically couldn't even like follow TV shows that well. So I was watching a lot of cartoons and things I'd already seen before, and like largely audio-based true crime stuff. And now at least I can see well enough that I can read the subtitles and I can follow something, so I have now binged through like half the stuff in the Black Lives Matter tag on Netflix. But in the meantime I was watching a lot of anime and cartoons and a lot of true crime. And yeah, a lot of Star Trek again. I'm still on that Star Trek kick from like 8 months ago. I don't think it will ever stop at this point. I'm too obsessed with the fashion choices of fascist space lizards, so there we go. Yeah, so that's that basically. That's my update, which is not as dramatic an update as I had kind of hoped, but hey ho. So I'm shut up, car. I'm no longer an outpatient. I don't need to go in for any more checkups unless things go hideously wrong, i.e. it gets infected, which fingers crossed it won't. I just have to continue to be careful with it and try not to wear too much glitter in my makeup, which is a struggle, you guys. I like glitter a lot. So yeah, I'll see you all very soon for some form of rambly vlog. Eventually the things that I have planned in terms of videos will happen eventually. I know I say that like every time I post a video, but I mean it. I do. I'm trying. I'm very trying. Anyway, see you all soon. Bye.